Hi guys, sorry I don't know what's going on with the light here. Well, there's this brilliant bright white light shining into my apartment. I don't remember this happening before when the sun was out, but anyway. So I wanted to do a video about something I've been thinking about a lot recently, which is how it can be quite hard to trust what's around you, and one of the reasons for that, in my opinion, is that science has become somewhat corrupted. Some areas of science, well, I'd say most areas of science, but obviously not all individual scientists and scientific organisations. But on the one hand, I think it's very important to look at data. On the other hand, this is just too fucking bright, isn't it? Sorry. On the other hand, it can be extreme. There's nothing I can do about it. Sorry. On the other hand, it can be extremely misleading. A lot of data, misleading, sometimes unintentionally, sometimes intentionally. Jesus, this is bright. I just have to just ignore it. It's probably bothering me more than it's bothering you. Yeah. A lot of the time, for example, studies are financed by the very people who stand to benefit or gain from getting a particular outcome in that study. So, mobile phone companies fund a lot of studies that say that there is no problem with holding a phone up to your ear all day, and that you're not going to get brain tumours from it, and that there's no health risk. It's fairly straightforward to imagine how the studies that they finance might come to those conclusions. There are obvious recent examples that I won't get into because last I checked, you're not even allowed. And I can't be bothered anyway. It's too divisive and weird. But there's as much as I cite a lot of data and in the videos I do here and in the book I wrote and stuff, and I think it can be very valuable. It is important to take it with a pinch of salt, I think, and to remember where it may or may not come from. And so I think instead the alternative is often just to use common sense and or both in combination. Let me turn this down as well. To use both things in combination. So you can, for example, right, like there's a lot of conflicting data about which diets are healthy, whether meat is healthy, whether a plant-based diet is better. There's all sorts of stuff about various new diets. And even, for example, a lot of people are really into keto, and a lot of people say it's a cult and that it's bad for you. And I don't know, I'm not claiming to have thoroughly looked into it, kind of for, because of what I'm kind of describing in this video, that, well, keto involves eating no carbs. One would imagine that the carbohydrate industry, if you can really call it such a thing, would have a problem with a dietary trend like that sweeping across the world, and people no longer eating carbs. You'd imagine that they wouldn't like that, and that they would do anything in their power to stop that. And again, common sense suggests that there's quite a lot they could do to stop that. There's quite a lot of misinformation they could put out there. It's quite easy to manipulate public opinion if you have the money. A lot of the stuff you read on Reddit and Facebook, and it's not real people. Even comments on, they're not real people. There's a lot of shills online. There's a lot of fake content out there. There's a lot of fake engagement and activity, and again, a lot of studies financed by people with a vested interest in getting a certain outcome. So I kind of look at that and think maybe keto is amazing. I mean, I've seen some people who have almost steroid-like results from it when it comes to training. It's pretty incredible, I guess, because it uses fat as an energy source, because you're not consuming carbs. So you may be able to burn fat and build muscle at the same time in a way that I don't know. But sometimes the progress people make looks really good. I wouldn't want to do that diet anyway. I'd find it boring. But in my opinion, it's hard to know. It's hard to know there what the truth is. That really is, like it's a bit like stuff that's going on in terms of like geopolitical stuff that's going on at the moment, war-related stuff. I would argue it's pretty hard to know what the truth is, to a point where I don't even really bother trying to ascertain the truth in its full form, because I just don't think you can, and so I just think it's easier to what is it easier to do? I don't think that means people should give up, but I just think it's if anyone is telling you everything is exactly this way, this is a fact, this is what you have to believe, in my opinion, that is a person that should not be trusted. Because again, using common sense, if these people or these organizations are so adamant about something that is questionable, or where there is an element of doubt, then they're acting in bad faith, or they're stupid, or they have an agenda, most likely, in my opinion. So I kind of rule out any opinion that is that staunch on something that is that cloudy and that involves, recent examples, decades of history, so much stuff that, again, using the war as an example, before this war, nobody cared about any of this stuff. None of the people who are now completely convinced of what they're seeing and hearing and what they believe about it, none of them had any interest in this, or most of them had no interest in this stuff before. They weren't talking about these countries. They had no idea really what was going on, and suddenly everybody knows exactly what's happening. It's amazing to me that people have managed to consume and verify that much information in such a short period of time, and I just simply don't believe that they have. I think they're lying to themselves, and some people are consciously lying to everybody else. So I've always felt it's best to avoid anyone who's giving you simple, straightforward answers to complex problems or issues. I just think that's generally a source that should not be trusted. Anyway, to take it back to a more real-world practical example of what I mean by this, when it comes to this dietary stuff, right, there's all this debate about longevity. There's these people like David Sinclair and other people, and all these. And then there's people who are saying, like, they have like a carnivore diet, and there's all this crazy shit going on. And whilst I don't want to be, I think it's good that we like progress and we learn new things, but at the same time, that's kind of like academic in a sense, right? I think when it comes to your own life and you have to make a kind of sensible choice for yourself, I think, again, common sense prevails here. Don't look at studies that might be financed by the meat industry. They might be financed by the carbohydrate industry. They might have some kind of ethical agenda that supersedes what is actually good for you as an individual. Much better data is just looking at various populations over the years, how long people have lived, what people tend to, which people tend to die younger than others, which people have the best quality of life, which places have lower rates of certain diseases, and also obviously how you feel when, goes without saying, like when you eat certain things. So I think for diet in particular, I would read about all this shit, and I would get so confused, and there's so much, like, it's surprisingly kind of contested, all of this stuff, and there's like warring factions all the time. And I'm now just looking at it and thinking, okay, people in these villages in Italy, and we know, they're not lying about these people living till 100 and stuff. That's not data you can really manipulate, in my opinion, or at least it's fucking hard to do so, to really pull the wool over people's eyes, and why. So people in these little villages in Italy and stuff, I've forgotten the name of the village. I wrote about it in my book, but which will be in the description. They eat a balanced diet. They eat carbs, they eat meat, they eat vegetables, they eat, I don't know about fish. I guess in some of these places they eat fish. This place in particular, I don't know if they had that much fish, but they had a fairly balanced diet. A lot of olive oil, eggs, garlic, veg in general. Some of them drank wine. They would sometimes have stuff with sugar in, and stuff that, some things that we might even consider unhealthy, but in general, I think like the kind of boring answer I've settled on in regards to diet is that the sort of adage about like a balanced diet is kind of, broadly speaking, true. There might be some things which might typically be perceived as fitting into a balanced diet which probably aren't healthy. Like, I think it's fairly clear that sugar is not great for you. It certainly doesn't make me feel very good. And that is often seen as part of a balanced diet, which is kind of funny to me. Like, I find it funny when you look at, I don't know if you have this in all countries, but in England and here in Spain, you have these things on every product where it shows you a percentage, like what percentage of your of fats does this have, what percentage of sugar, what percentage of salt, and it will be like green, yellow, or red or something. And the percentage of sugar is quite high, really. And I just it's just a weird, I guess they're saying don't go beyond this. If you must have sugar, don't go beyond this. But it's almost like presented as though like you should have this amount of sugar every day. I like the idea of someone who's misinterpreted it as that, and he's like, oh shit, I haven't had 100% of my sugars yet. I better have some like muffins to fucking get my sugar levels up. Because I don't think sugar has to be part of a balanced diet. But I guess the point is that it can be in moderation, and seemingly the best thing is to have relatively unprocessed, good quality food that's not filled with fucking chemicals and shit. These people aren't eating everything out of plastic containers. They don't have fucking weird shit sprayed all over their food. They're not eating things that are full of like fucking bleaches and pesticides, and again, more importantly, plastics. I doubt many of them are using plastic utensils. I don't know, maybe that's like a naive view of what these small towns are like. I very much doubt they're using a lot of plastic in their cooking. Everything is local, and so they don't have to do weird things to the food to transport it. And so obviously I can't eat the way that they eat. I can't, well, I could, I guess I could go to like farmers markets and shit. I don't really have the money for it, but what I can see from that is like, clearly eating some meat is not going to fucking take years off your life. All these people wouldn't be living for so long. Clearly eating carbs is not the end of the world, because they're fucking happy. A lot of them are like shagging when they're like 80 and shit, and like they're fine, like their lives are good. Vegetables are obviously, like, again, certainly don't seem to be causing a great deal of harm, and I think they're pretty relaxed about it as well. So that isn't the point of this video, but I guess the point I'm making is that you can look at all these scientific studies, or you can kind of just look over the top of those, look beyond them, use your common sense, and see like these people have lived really good lives, and they lived really long lives, or they continue to live really long lives in these areas. And there's other places. There's places in Japan. There's this island in Japan where, again, it's a lot of just like rice and fish and stuff, and vegetables, and they're just a decent, healthy balance. So I'm a bit skeptical of all these extreme diets, and I think they're a bit, to be honest with you, I find it annoying. Like, it's annoying when I like these people are just like, I only fucking eat meat and I like drink blood and shit. And it's like, shut up, man. Like, why are you doing this? It's just stupid. It's, to me, I don't know. No offense to anyone who's into that, but I just find it childish. Like, I don't know why. Maybe I'm being ignorant. I just don't see the point of that. And I also think like it's hypocritical for me to say this, because I do eat some meat, but I think it's like, I don't know, man. You see the fucking plates these people have, and it's just like nothing but dead animals. And like, I guess probably people who are into that probably do buy quite good quality meat that's raised in fairly good conditions. But yeah, it's just I don't know. I certainly think from a dietary point of view, it's a big risk to do something like that hasn't been tried and tested over hundreds of years, because a good, healthy, balanced diet has been. It's been it's something we've observed for, fucking centuries. So yeah, I guess it's kind of a twofold video, and I'm sort of mixing up two different things and talking about shit. But yeah, I think that sentiment in general is important, and I'm trying to remember it for myself recently. And when I see some information or some data, I think, where is this coming from? Why might they? It comes down as well to corruption, because when you think about it, like, think about certain things like football, right? English football. I'm not going to use the S word. I've been thinking about it a lot recently, and I'm just thinking, like, why wouldn't it be corrupt? I mean, obviously we know to some degree it's corrupt. Like, Qatar got the World Cup, loads of other weird shit happens. Don't know if any of you follow Manchester City, but they get some fucking weird decisions. And there's other examples. We've known loads of examples over the years of, various sports, including football, being corrupt. And there's definitely been doping in football. There's been doping in basically every sport ever. And here in Spain, there's some quite interesting little clues, little trails to follow regarding doping in sport, that I just think they want to keep that fucking lid shut tight, understandably. And that's what I think why most sporting organisations are like that. Because, for example, if the doping authorities found, there was loads of doping in the Premier League, that would destroy the Premier League. It would just be so bad for so many people that maybe to some extent, understandably, they're just like, nah, let's just fucking shut up about it. But anyway, that aside, like, you look at referees and stuff, and it's like, why wouldn't they be corrupt? I'm not saying all of them are. I'm not really, I'm just speculating. Like, why wouldn't they be? Think of it logically, right? Like, these organisations that are worth like billions, they can't get a guy who earns like 50 to 100k a year. They can't get that guy to do what they want. They can't even, maybe not even through money, maybe through threats. They don't have the money, the power to pay somebody to threaten this person, or even like they just get them like women and shit. And like, there's so many ways when you look at these referees, you're just like, you could like break that person. These aren't people who are like fucking, I'm sure some of them have integrity and honor and all this, but like, just look at them next time you watch football and think, like, if this man is central to your success or failure as a club, and these clubs will do anything to succeed, not only to make money, there's so much else at stake. And you just look at that, and that's like a weak point. It's a very weak point, is what I'm saying. Like if you were looking at that as a problem solver, you'd be like, I can fucking get that guy to do what I want easily. It's just some guy. Find out where he lives, offer him money. If that doesn't work, threaten him, get him to do something weird and blackmail him over it. Like, then when someone else new comes in, all the others force them to take part in it, and once you've done a bit of it, you're in. It's like how so many of these criminal things work. Once your foot is a little bit in the door, you're fucked, because then you're part of it. So again, I look at that and I look at it with politics and stuff, and I just think, like, well, why would it? Just logically, they probably largely, or at least to a decent extent, are corrupt. If it's the same, like, when you see there's loads of money to be made off certain things that happen in the world, again, I'm not going to fucking get into, but why would people not? We know there are a lot of bad people in power, a lot of psychopaths, a lot of narcissists, a lot of people who only care about themselves, a lot of very greedy people. They gravitate towards power, right? Why would people in those positions not immediately seize upon opportunities to gain on a personal level from things that happen? And the fact that we see very little evidence of this happening, in a sense, is like, that tells you that it's hideable, because we know this happens to some degree. So the fact that we don't even see it happening to some degree suggests, well, then it could be happening shitloads, because it's clearly possible to hide it. Because if you think that all of this shit goes on in the world, and so much money changes hands, and nothing untoward is happening, and there's not any grubby shit going on from the same organisations that have been responsible for millions of deaths, the same people who have like done such terrible things to gain for their own gain over the years. It's inconceivable that there's not that they're not doing something untoward or weird in these situations. So the fact that is seemingly hidden from us only speaks to the possibility of how big it is in scale, basically. Yeah. I don't know. I know these sounds like kind of paranoid, borderline schizophrenic ramblings, but I'm not sure if this video has been coherent at all. But I'm happy with it. Good. Yeah. I hope you're all doing well. Take care.